Dang, Jose. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good morning. Good afternoon, class. My name is Asha IB, and the title of my TOK presentation is Stamps and Envelopes. So to begin my presentation, I would like you all to consider something. I would like you to consider we have two girls, girl A and girl B. Now between girl A and girl B, they have the same parents, live in the same house, go to the same school, and are open to the exact same resources. Now let's say we leave alone girl A and girl B. We let them go through their adolescence and teenage years, and we check on them about 20 years later. 20 years later, girl A has graduated college and is the lead manager at the company she works at, and girl B did not graduate high school and is working at the lowest position at that exact same company. My question was how? How did these two girls, girl A and girl B, who are open to the exact same resources, was raised by the same parents, lived in the same household their whole life, turn out on these two totally different opposite paths? The two girls that are presented to you are based off my two aunties, who went through this exact situation. And I asked myself over and over again how they turned out the way they did. Until it hit me. Labels. Labels is in a word or a phrase indicating what person belongs to what particular category or classification. What if I told you that girl A, we'll call her Auntie A, all her life was told that she was bright, pretty, smart, and bound for success, while Auntie B was told that she was dumb, stupid, useless, and would be lucky if she graduated high school. The problem with addressing my two aunties this way was that every time they would call this and name this, they believed it and started to create their identity according to it. Which led me to the knowledge question of, to what extent do labels limit our identity? The ALK I decided to look through was human sciences. And I chose human sciences because I figured that if we were thinking about labels and the way they affect us in a subconscious way to create our identity, it had to be something, it had to be to do with the human psyche. And I came up with something called the Tarzan effect. We all know in the movie Tarzan, Tarzan is raised by a gorilla and around gorillas, even though he is a human boy. And because of this, he starts to develop the characteristics as well as the behavior of a gorilla. This similar thing happens with humans. When humans are labeled a certain label, they begin to behave that specific way. Like my Auntie A, she was always called a good girl, a smart girl, so she started to behave that way. And with my Auntie B, she was always called a bad girl, treated like a bad girl, and treated like a dumb girl, so she started to behave that way. And essentially, it started to limit the way she thought about herself. All the ideas she had about herself and the goals she set for herself started to fall out as she made room for the labels that were put on her. After I looked through the ALK of human sciences, I went through the WOKs of sense perception, reason, and language. I looked through the lens of sense perception because of something called a sense of self, which is essentially our own self-image. Now, the difficult part about creating a sense of self is that a lot of the times, people don't pay attention to the journey they take to becoming themselves or creating their identity. You know, anyone can tell you the journey to getting their first job, first heartbreak, first relationship, but when you ask them about their identity, you know, the picture gets a little foggy. And this is because too many times we let people and the labels they put on us create our identity instead of creating it ourselves. That's why when people ask you who you are, the first thing we name about is traits about ourselves, instead of saying who we actually are. The second ALK I looked through was reason. And this is because while I was referring back to my RLS and I was looking at my two aunties and, you know, their situation and the way they were raised, I was trying to figure out and dig deeper. It's not just how the labels affected them, but why they were labeled that. And this was because of inductive reasoning, which is the process where multiple assumptions that are also believed to be true are combined to come to one conclusion. So with inductive reasoning, what happened was with my auntie, with Auntie B, the one who was described as the bad girl, over and over again, she displayed behavior of a bad girl, which is why she became to call one. But even though some of the behavior that she demonstrated was of a good girl, because she demonstrated behavior of a bad girl, they lumped all those behaviors in as one and made her bad. As well as my Auntie A, she demonstrated behavior of a smart girl, you know, she was pretty, so people automatically put her in that category of a good girl using inductive reasoning. The last ALK I used was language, and this was because of something called linguistic determinism. which is human language, which is the belief that human language limits and determines human thought and patterns and knowledge. An example of this would be in the Eskimo language. They live in freezing conditions, and they have many different words for snow. So they have words to describe freezing snow, slick snow, dark snow, light snow, but we only have one snow, which is snow. So we only see one snow. It's the same way we see color blue. We have dark blue, light blue, turquoise, and all these different blues. But if we didn't and we only had one word, we would only see one blue. This same thing starts to happen with the labels we put on people. So looking back at my RLS, we see the word bad. With snow, we don't have a dark bad or a light bad. We only have one type of bad. You can't be half bad, half good. When you get labeled something, we only see you for that. And once people only see you for that and describe you as that, you start to see yourself as that and begin to limit who you can be and your identity, so to speak. Which all leads me back to my knowledge question of to what extent do labels limit our identity? We see labels is something that happens so often and so fast that we disregard and we ignore it because it's almost subconscious. When you think of pseudosciences like astrology, when over and over again we're told these, we look at these zodiac signs and we're told that we're certain things like, if you're, I'm a Libra, so constantly I'm told that I'm generous and I'm caring and I'm creative. But once I get those labels on myself, I take myself out of the category to be harsh and mean. Because how can I be that? I'm a Libra. And once I do that, I constantly limit my identity. And this same thing happened with my auntie. Once my auntie A was always told that she was smart, told that she had to succeed, told that she was bound for success. It made her feel like she could not fail at all. She would be disappointing herself as well as other people. And we see this a lot happen in this class, where we feel like we have so much pressure to be somebody that everybody is expecting us to be, but we just might not be that person. And looking back at my auntie B, who was always told that she was going to fail, told that she couldn't succeed, it limited her to even want to. It's the same thing that happens between me and my sister, where you guys see a distinct difference between us, because we have this stereotype on us where I'm supposed to be the good twin and she's supposed to be the bad one. So all her life, all my life, my twin has been raised to believe that she has to stay below me. So when she meets challenges, or when we both meet the same challenge, she backs away. If you ask me, humans are a lot like envelopes. We all come in many colors and many different sizes, but inside us we can hold a lot of information, but we're all sealed. And on us are these stamps or labels. And that stamp can determine whether or not you even want to open up the envelope. I feel like in order for us as humans to develop and move on, we're going to have to let those labels go and not let them limit who we are. Because when we do, we have problems with race, we have problems with gender, we have problems with sexuality, and it creates more than just good and bad. It stops being that very soon. And we have international issues, world issues. Thank you.